Coming right up, don't squirm, but 18 baby boas have been born to a 16-year-old mother. He's not Robert Redford, but we meet a Mongolian man who's a genuine horse whisperer. And a pony who loves a drink but has trouble holding it. All that and much more coming right up on Animalia. Here's an inquisitive little fellow who'd like to say hello to you. Hello. His name is Lyubo Lik, and he's a member of a bear orphanage in the village of Kutarevo. The Velebit Refuge for Bear Cubs was founded in 2002. Lyubo Lik was starving and barely alive when locals found him 5 months ago. He's recovered since and now spends most of his time playing with Zdravi Gore, another 8-month-old cub. After running around and wrestling, the two often share a bath in a wooden trough. Lyubo Lik sometimes wants the trough for himself and is not above putting up a fight for exclusive occupancy. Huddled in the rough woodlands of Croatia's Mount Velebit, the refuge cares for bears which have become separated from their mothers. Aside from death caused by vehicles, illegal hunters are the main cause of bear deaths, and so the barbed wire fence which encloses the orphan's pen in the refuge is not for the purpose of protecting the mountain villagers from the brown bears inside, but rather to provide added protection for the bears against humans. The 4 cubs sheltering in what their carers say is the Balkans' only bear orphanage are too young to cause harm and are already so used to humans they can't go back to the wild. Their only chance of survival is to be raised by humans. Although there are other bear refuges in Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey and Greece, they give refuge to abused or maltreated adult bears, usually confiscated from street performers. Locals, helped by volunteers, plan to build a bear park and turn the refuge into an eco-tourism venue, but insist their primary concern will always be the bears' welfare. Croatia still has wilds where brown bears roam, numbering between 400 and 800. They can also be found in neighbouring Balkan states, but have died out in most of Europe. Brown bears are the largest wild animals living in Croatia. They have no natural enemies except man. Their life expectancy is 20 to 30 years in the wilderness, although they can live up to 45 years in captivity. This as yet unnamed male panda cub is being examined by vets at San Diego Zoo. The cub, which weighed only 114 grams at birth 6 weeks ago, now weighs 1.92 kilograms and measures 40 centimeters. The cub was born to Bai Yun, a giant panda on loan from China. Staff noticed significant movement of the cub's eyelids and detected the opening of his ears as well as development of his teeth. Everything looks great. He's growing at a good rate within normal ranges. His dental growth is getting to the point where the vet can actually feel little canine teeth beginning to grow, and his eyes are in the early stages of beginning to open. We'll probably see his eyes themselves within the next couple of weeks. In the wild, female pandas usually give birth to a single cub once only every 2 or 3 years, and it's proven difficult to tempt those protected in zoos to mate. However, the cub is Bai Yun's second offspring. In 1999, she gave birth to a female cub named Hua Mei, who is now 4 years old. This cub is heavier than Hua Mei was at the same age. Hua Mei is the only other surviving panda born in the United States. The San Diego Zoo has an agreement with China which states that any cubs born from matings of lone pandas must be returned to China after their 3rd birthday. However, Hua Mei's return to China was delayed due to the SARS outbreak. Plagued by poaching and habitat loss, there are only about 1,000 of the adored and endangered giant pandas left in the wild, in an area of mountain forest fragments in southwest China. There's only one official whale crier in the world, and he's found in South Africa's beach town of Hermanus. 52-year-old Wilson Salakazana is extremely knowledgeable about the town and the whales that come to the bay in the months of August and September each year. The migration of the white whales into the bay brings with it hundreds of visitors from all over the world. They come to witness nature at its best, whales playing and mating close to hand. During this period, the whale crier patrols the streets of Hermanus, blowing his kelp horn in a special code to alert the visitors and townsfolk where the whales have been sighted. Wilson says his kelp horn connects with the whales and that he can communicate with the sea mammals. He says the whales relate to the seaweed because most of the time you find them amongst it scratching their backs. Once on the beachfront, Wilson, like the whales, is the centre of attraction as people seek information and want to listen to him tell tales about the town and the whales. A catchy little number, isn't it? It seems the tourists, beckoned here by Wilson, in turn bring out the curiosity in some creatures unrelated to the whale crier's kelp horn. When Wilson's not whale crying, he spends time counselling street children from the township. Most of the children used to beg at street corners in Hermanus but have now stopped, opting to develop hobbies and skills. It seems Wilson touches all creatures, great and small. Meanwhile, in the US of A, these picturesque La Jolla beaches, prime California real estate, are now off limits to people. Other swimmers, harbour seals, rule this beach. An area that once was a children's pool is now an oceanside patio for a colony of almost 200 lovable seals. 74 years ago, a man-made seawall made this beach safe for children. Now, a man-made rope and a federal law make it safe for seals. Dedicated in 1931, the La Jolla Journal newspaper reported, "Here at the pool, the children have a primary claim." In fact, the state of California deeded the La Jolla beachfront for swimming. Seal numbers started growing when the Federal Marine Mammal Protection Act stopped people from chasing the seals away. But so many came to the children's pool area, their waste polluted the water and chased the swimmers away. But the seals have plenty of supporters. One man gathered more than 11,000 petition signatures in support of the seals, maintaining there are plenty of places for people to swim. Later this year, the San Diego City Council will decide if a plan can be devised to give at least a portion of the children's pool back to the children. Meanwhile, the seals are soaking up the sun and taking full advantage of the beach reserved exclusively for them. So kids, say bye-bye for now and let them get some rest. Well, they're very cute, aren't they? Pigs may not be kosher in Israel, but may deserve an image makeover thanks to a hidden talent for sniffing out bombs, according to this young entrepreneur, Giva Zion, a former Israeli army trainer of security dogs. He's discreetly training 4 female pigs on a desert kibbutz to do a job normally handled by canines or electronic mine detectors. To demonstrate, Zion concealed a little pouch filled with a substance simulating gunpowder in a hole drilled into a large cardboard plank outside his pigsty. Then he fetched his star pupil, an affable little porker named Soda. She rooted about the plank and within seconds stopped short at the hole with the pouch, looked up at Zion, sat down and thrust her snout in the air for a reward, cornmeal that he stuffed into her mouth. Hey, that's not a mouth. Zion said he hit upon the pig's hidden talent while working recently for an Israeli mine-clearing firm using conventional dogs in Croatia. He said he would contact countries plagued by leftover minefields such as Angola, Mozambique and former Yugoslav republics, as well as the late Princess Diana's charity that campaigns against landmines, to offer his swine for service. How long exactly can you sniff a bit of dirt for? Meanwhile, scientists in Germany report that the fossil of an animal has been found that lived 8 million years ago in what is now Venezuela. Weighing 700 kilograms and 2.5 meters long, the fossil belonged to a rodent. Marcelo Sanchez Villagra, the research team leader of the University of Tübingen in Germany, seen here, says one can perhaps imagine something like a huge guinea pig. The animal would have grazed and from a distance would have resembled a buffalo. Found in a remote area, the fossil mystified scientists who finally determined it was a specimen of Phoberomys pattersoni. At the time, the area, 400 kilometers west of Caracas, was lush with monster turtles, huge crocodiles and giant catfish in the rivers. Phoberomys is reported to be the largest rodent that ever existed. Reliable body mass estimates yield around 700 kilograms, more than 10 times the mass of the largest living rodent, the capybara. Capybaras, which live in South America, are sheep-sized rodents that stand fairly upright compared to their smaller, crouching cousins. Like capybaras, the ancient rodent would likely have lived near water, wading into the shallows to graze. Its bones and teeth suggest the animal, nicknamed Goya, munched grass. Like other rodents, its teeth grew constantly as they were worn down by gnawing and grazing. While Goya would have had straight legs, unlike a guinea pig, it would not have been fleet of foot. You just never know what you're going to find wandering around the wilds of Venezuela. Welcome to one of the more famous zoos in the world, the London Zoo. And one of the more popular areas is the Reptile House. Keepers at the London Zoo were contacted about 7 years ago and asked if they could accept 4 red spitting cobras that had been confiscated as part of the illegal pet trade. The zoo, which has one of the biggest venomous snake collections in Europe, agreed to take them on. But handlers soon noticed they were different from the other red spitters in the zoo's collection, noting contrasts in the scale pattern and coloration of the snakes. A cobra specialist from the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Wales was soon contacted, and now, after years of research, the snake has been recognised as an entirely new species. The sign outside the snake's pen at the zoo will soon be changed to reflect the new species, which is differentiated from the red-spitting cobra, Naya pallida, by its throat and neck pattern and overall body colour. Naya pallida normally has a single, broad dark band across the throat, which encircles the body and crosses the neck. The rest of the body is uniformly dark red. The new species, Naya nubia, has 2 bands across the neck, a distinct light throat area before the main throat band, and practically all specimens feature a dark spot on each side of the throat. A clutch of 10 eggs was recently produced by the cobras, all of which hatched successfully. The tiny babies are miniature replicas of their parents, although with a different skin tone, and hatch complete with fully stocked venom glands and fangs capable of spitting, which is why this handler is protecting his eyes. The scientific recognition of a new species means researchers can now begin looking at the creature in a whole new light, studying its habitat, population, threats, and other factors already known and documented for other species. Slippery little sucker, isn't he?
That's the one.
And 18 boa snake babies born at a Munich zoo this summer have had their first media appearance. Munich zookeeper Christine Heidenthaler had some difficulty keeping the baby boas under control as she took them to visit their mother Susie. Boas require an environment which is identical to their wildlife habitat, moist to dry surroundings. They have to be fed, although they eat very little. In fact, they only require feeding every 4 weeks during the winter and every 2 weeks during the summer. 5-metre-long mother Susie had her 18 babies at age 16. She's considered to be an old snake. Younger snakes tend to have 50 to 60 babies at one time. Baby boas leave the egg inside their mother's womb and are therefore born in their natural state. The 18 baby boas measure an average of 50 centimetres at the moment and will reach a length of between 4 to 5 metres. Grown boas are relatively small compared to pythons, which can reach up to 7 metres. But if you don't like snakes, then I would suggest that 5 metres is quite big enough, thank you. Soon enough, it was time for the visiting babies to get back into their box and head for the nursery so that Mum could take a very well-earned rest. 18 kids slithering around the place can really be quite stressful. Get back in your box, you slithery little boas. There, now we can all get some sleep. Once upon a time, the unforgiving lands of Mongolia gave birth to great emperors who galloped their way on horseback into the history books and legends. One man, Seren Magsar, is making sure that horses will continue to gallop across the Mongolian countryside by dedicating his life to teach ancient riding skills to new generations of young Mongolians. Nomad children in Mongolia learn to ride horses that can be 10 times their size at just 2 to 4 years of age. With the advent of the traditional Nadam festival, a 3-day event that harks back to the times of Genghis Khan, it's time to showcase the 3 manly sports of horse racing, archery and wrestling. Mongolians are born in the saddle, as a local saying has it, and the Nadam is the best time for many to prove their prowess learned from a very young age. But for Seren, Nadam is just another day spent with his pupils, trying to teach them everything he knows and loves about horses. In Mongolia, a landlocked nation that lies between China and Russia, the bond between people and horses goes back at least 1,000 years. Originally, Mongolians tamed wild horses that thundered across the vast plains in order to catch their meat and milk. But the horse soon became a powerful ally in their war campaigns against belligerent neighbours. By the 1100s, the Mongols were widely revered as master riders, and mounted Mongol warlords were greatly feared by their enemies. Today, Mongolia continues its love affair with the horse. Nearly 40% of its 2.4 million people are nomadic herders, making a living by selling and milking their herds of horses. To England now, and an unusual story of a pony that loves a drink. He might not be your average guest, but at the Globe Inn pub in Gloucester, Sparky the pony is a regular. He's landlord John Baldwin's special attraction, since he not only follows him around wherever he goes. No, Sparky goes that one step further. He keeps John company with a pint of traditional ale. Sparky doesn't do it for the show. He actually seems to enjoy the taste of traditional ale, but prefers drinking it from the glass. Watch where you leave your half-empty glasses, as the Pony Patrol is on alert here at the Globe Inn. But Sparky has his difficulties. Ever since he broke his very own beer mug, he's having to adjust to the more slippery new ones. And that means no more drinking in style, since he can't hold on to them long enough to finish the beer and throw the mug off like he used to do. So now it's just one big mess and a few broken glasses. Sparky has become quite a local celebrity and has been invited to appear on various TV shows, a children's show amongst them. And that's okay, except for the fact that they offered him lemonade instead of beer. And that's just not on for this regular. The reason they're looking so glum is because it's Sparky's turn to buy a round of drinks. Oh dear, Sparky, you're just going to either get a new non-slip glass or a thumb. Maybe even grass could be your thing. Let's have another try. There, that's better. Maybe they ought to get him a bib too. In the tropical forests around the Sri Lankan town of Palanarua, the thousands of wild elephants that once roamed freely are slowly disappearing. Millions of people in the region are challenging the elephants in a daily battle for habitat, and the elephants are losing. In Sri Lanka, there are barely 3,000 elephants left. About 150 elephants are killed each year during hunting and in search of ivory. But it is the habitat loss that is the biggest threat to the elephants. In a symposium that was held in Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo, recently, over 200 conservationists from Asia and Africa gathered to discuss the preservation of the global elephant population, which is increasingly threatened by deforestation and poachers. The central area of discussion at the conference was human-elephant relationships and conflicts. The perilous state of elephants is not unique to Sri Lanka. According to a United Nations report, the elephant population in Asia alone has fallen from hundreds of thousands at the turn of the 20th century to barely 16,000 in 11 countries today. In Sri Lanka, the elephants don't migrate as much as African elephants. They move within their home range. Now, home range for a typical Sri Lankan herd is about 32 square miles. But the point is that land area is interfered by human development, by incursions of people coming to cut trees in the forest and reducing the food potential in the area. Elephant safari tours are not helping conserve their habitats, but instead the elephants are being driven out from their natural habitat as forest areas are manicured for tourists. The elephants have become so desperate that they have turned to garbage for food. At the Palanarua rubbish dump, plastic bags, hospital waste and waste from the tourist town's hotels are a feast for animals in the forest. Elephants, who've been the most affected in Sri Lanka by humans and their need for exploring the wild, will need a lot more protection to prevent them from becoming endangered species. To have had a look into the future at the start of the 20th century and to have witnessed a scene like this, it would surely have shocked the global population into preserving these and other magnificent beasts. Before it's too late, let's help to keep our beautiful elephants and other wild animals off the garbage heap.